Hello guys, welcome to 1 month postpartum update. I say 1 month, it's actually 5 weeks because nothing goes to plan at the moment at all, like literally nothing. My whole life just feels like it's completely out of control. So I have already done videos on the actual birth itself and a 1 week postpartum update, so I'll try not to repeat myself too much, just like so I don't bore everybody. And I'll link those down below so that you can find them. I also need to use my notes because my short-term memory is like literally shot to pieces. I cannot remember anything. I'm trying to do like the food shopping and I miss half of it off because I can't remember what I need. I walk into a room to get something and I can't remember any of it. I completely forget what I'm trying to say when I'm trying to say it. And like pregnancy brain was bad enough, and this is like worse. I don't know if it's tiredness or it's just postpartum stuff or what, but can't function properly. Okay, I'll start with the C-section. Apparently the outside is all healed, like fully. I say apparently because like the midwives and my health visitor have told me it is. It still looks quite angry. It's kind of scary to look at, and occasionally I get like sharp pains in it as well. So I'm guessing if they say it's healed fully, then it's healed fully, but it doesn't feel fantastic. It's not horrible, but I wouldn't say that it felt like it was healed fully, but I'm guessing that's just how C-section is. It's my first one, so I don't really know. And the inside doesn't feel too bad. It feels kind of bruised and achy sometimes, but I don't feel like I'm gonna rip anything open every time I move now, which I did for the first couple of weeks. But I can baby wear, as you can see, which is what I have to do all the time at the moment. I have managed to vacuum using the cordless vacuum. I've gone out on sort of like, you know, walks around. I went to our local Christmas fair and walked around that for a couple of hours with her attached to me. So I feel like recovery wise that way I'm doing okay, because I was convinced for the first sort of like 4 weeks that I wouldn't be able to do anything, but actually that's not been too bad. I've got a pre-existing prolapse, which that has been playing up recently the last few days. I think that's just because I've been doing more than I probably should have been doing, because it feels quite heavy anyway. That feels like it's pulling on the scar and the incision like on the inside as well, so that can kind of get a bit uncomfortable. But I'm going to bed really early anyway, so that sort of gives me time to just sort of recover a bit and help that, like take away the gravity from it. See, look, I can't even form a proper sentence. But there hasn't been any like full-on recovery. I know that they say you need to try and like rest up as much as possible, and there hasn't been much of that. Obviously I've got a 4-year-old, so I haven't been able to just sit down because I've got her, but also the house is still a building site. It still hasn't been even partly reinstated after the fire. We moved back in a couple of days after she was born, so there's still loads of unpacking to do. Like anything that did survive the fire has been put up in the loft. We've just left it up there because I don't even know, like there's no time to start, and then stuff from the rental house is still needing to be unpacked, and I'm trying to do a bit every day, but it's just crazy, and there hasn't been any time to just sit and do absolutely nothing. I was lucky John was off for 3 weeks, but he was still trying to get like house stuff done. Like the electrics still aren't finished. That's like quite important to get done. There was other bits and pieces that like had to be done that he couldn't leave. And then his mum was down for a few days as well, but that's all stopped now. Everyone's gone home during the day. It's me and Cecily and Isabel as well, because she only goes to preschool 2 days a week, which has been hard. The postpartum bleeding. So I remember last time it lasted for about 6 weeks, and I just remember it being horrendous. And this time it stopped after 2 weeks, and I was like, oh wow, this is a brilliant result. And I even said to the health visitor, and she was like, oh wow, that's amazing. And it stopped for about a week, and then it came back like with a vengeance. It was so heavy for a couple of hours that I was like, I'm gonna have to phone 111 here, because this shouldn't be like this. This is quite scary. But it eased off and just sort of went normal again. And we're now, I think, coming to the end of it. 5 weeks, there's not really much going on. Obviously I don't want to go into too much detail because it's a bit gross, but it does look like we're coming to the end of it. And I don't really feel like I've experienced too many like of the contractions that you get afterwards. I know when I'd had my C-section, they gave me oxytocin, which is like to help with the like contracting your uterus and stuff like that. And I don't really feel like I've experienced too much pain with that. And I don't know if just because the area was uncomfortable anyway, of the incision and the allergic reaction I had, and then a heat rash, which I'll talk about more in a minute. I don't know if it just sort of like blended in with that, but I don't feel like, I hear other people talking about it and I don't feel like I've experienced that. So I guess that's a good thing. I'm assuming that it is all like going back down as it should do. Breastfeeding. So I was adamant that I wasn't going to pump this time. I ended up with Isabel pumping for 10 weeks before she finally latched, and I was adamant that I wasn't going to do it this one. And she latched straight away after birth. I said in my, I don't know if it was my postpartum video or my C-section video, that I didn't try and breastfeed her till we were in recovery, but actually, and looking back on photos, she actually latched while I was still on the theatre table being stitched up and stuff. So that started off going really well, and I was like, oh, thank God. And then at 5 days postpartum, she'd lost 10% of her body weight. Nobody was too concerned about that. And again, like I said, I've talked about this a bit more in the 1 week update. But by day 7, she'd lost 14%, and we had to be readmitted into hospital. She was put on a feeding plan, which it was kind of a ridiculous plan. I don't want to, say anything bad about the paediatricians, but they were adamant that she needed to get 77 ml of top-up breast milk in after her feed, and we were like, but there's no way that's going to happen. Like, I've been topping her up with 20 ml and she sicks that back up. But anyway, we found the feeding plan that was working for us, which was basically offering her the boob and then offering her the bottle as well, and just letting her take whatever she would take. Like, there was no point in trying to force feed 77 ml into her. It just wasn't happening. Luckily had the involvement of the infant feeding team. If we hadn't had those, I think it would have been really different. But she was like, yeah, we think there's a tongue tie. Her latch wasn't sealing properly, and she just wasn't transferring milk. And then they were putting a finger in her mouth, and they were like, no, the suck isn't strong enough. So 6 days after she went back into hospital, so she was 13 days old, she had a tongue tie revision. The tongue tie practitioner said it doesn't look like it's a big tongue tie, but her frenulum was really, really thick, which meant that she just had barely any use of her tongue. So we got that done, and then over the last couple of weeks, breastfeeding has definitely improved, because I wasn't struggling with any pain, I wasn't having odd shaped nipples, so we thought she was feeding fine, but actually she wasn't transferring the milk very well. But she's been boobing quite a lot, and we're now at the point where she's almost stopped her top-up bottles, and that's not anything we forced on her, it's just that she's now getting enough from the boob to not need the bottle. So I am still pumping once a day, because John is giving her a bottle at night time, which means I can go to bed earlier. So I'm going to stick with doing that. I've got a hands-free pump, which is like a complete game changer to just being like hooked up to wires and stuff like I was last time. And I'll link that below as well, because I took a chance and got a kind of a cheapy one that I'd seen some good reviews on, and it's actually been brilliant. I can't fault it at all. We seem to be, we've established breastfeeding properly now, and she's gaining weight. She was weighed a week ago maybe, and she was back up to the 72nd centile, so she's absolutely fine now with gaining weight. But she's really, really long, and she was out of her up to 1 month baby grows like in 3 weeks, and now she's pretty much almost out of her 0 to 3 month ones as well, because her legs are really long. So I think she's doing okay now. I don't know if you can hear her, but she's snoring. But I will continue to pump that last feed for her, because it just means that I can go to bed a bit earlier and John can take over for a bit. Not that that's going very well at the moment, because we're in that full-on cluster feeding stage, and she's not happy to be left with a bottle. She just wants to be on the boob all the time, either on the boob or in here. There is no putting her down during the day. So that takes me on to sleep, which is, I think, when you've got a new baby, or even when you've just got kids anyway, sleep is like the topic of conversation all the time. I go to bed early so that I can get a couple of hours in before the first feed. So I tend to be in bed around about 7:30. I pump and then go to bed. John takes over, and then he does her a nappy change and gets her into a sleeping bag and gives her a bottle from like 9:30. And then the idea is that she'll then sleep hopefully till like 12:30, and I could have got like 4.5 hours sleep in. Some nights that works. Some nights she goes to bed and she doesn't wake up till 1, sometimes 2. But the last couple of nights it's been, he puts her into bed and she's awake like within 10 minutes, and then he's like offered her bottles and she's refusing them, but she will then boob for an hour. So we're obviously in that full-on cluster feeding stage, and I just keep telling myself it's not going to last forever. It isn't going to last forever. It will start calming down soon, and I just need to get those few hours of sleep in before, because then I can almost function. But to start with, she wouldn't sleep in her next to me. She wasn't having any of it. We had the Moses basket up here, but she's okay in that at night time now, touch wood. I can get her back in there as long as she's had a good old feed and I've kept hold of her and she's like in a proper deep floppy sleep, then she will sleep in there at the moment. Fingers crossed it stays like that, because I feel like I'm getting enough sleep to function, which is fabulous really. I do get everything set up for safe co-sleeping before I go to bed. I've only had to do it twice, and neither time I particularly slept very well because she's so tiny and there's just like a little bit of fear there, despite co-sleeping with Isabel from like 16 weeks old. But it is all set up. I do set it up because there's been a couple of times when she just wasn't having it settling in there, so I do have that set up. I'm hoping not to go down the route of that again, but if that's what we need to do, then that's what we need to do. It'd be great if I had one of those babies that would just sleep in a cot, but I'm going to enjoy the snuggles while I can, because they don't last forever. There isn't any routine like for when she wakes up, although we've got the routine before bed. Because she wakes up at different times in the night, there's no routine to when she's going to wake up in the morning. And because I can't put her down during the day, I have to get everything that's not baby wearing friendly done in the morning while she's still asleep before she wakes up. So things like obviously showering, I have to get that done. I can't not have a shower. I'm just too much of a sweaty mess. Emptying the dishwasher, anything that involves bending down I have to get done before she wakes up. And luckily Isabel will chill out for like that hour in the morning. She'll watch something on my laptop or she'll read a book, because she knows that once Cecily's up and in the carrier, then I can spend time with her. But it is such a juggle trying to get stuff done. But having a newborn and an older child is wild. Like, we are definitely surviving and not thriving at the moment. When Isabel was a newborn, I napped like as often as I could just to try and get through it. But I can't do that now. Obviously this one doesn't want to be put down at the moment, but having a 4-year-old means that I can't just be like, oh, okay, Cecily's asleep, I'm going to go and have a nap now, because Isabel is only at preschool twice a week. And Isabel does get quite jealous when I'm feeding Cecily or sorting her out. She's really, really helpful. She can really helpful. She'll come and help do nappy changes, and she'll let me know if she's a bit sick, or she'll help with loads of stuff. But she's also got some big feelings around the jealousy. It's completely understandable, but it's really, really hard, because she'll then kick off. There's tantrums, there's like hitting me and stuff. It's not something that she's been massively prone to do. Obviously we've had a tough year and there have been times where she has kicked off, but it seems like every day at the moment she doesn't want to get dressed, she doesn't want to get ready for bed, she doesn't want to tidy her toys up, and she just wants to be as attached to me as her sister is. It's making me massively touched out, because I've got this all day anyway, and then I've got Isabel hanging off of me. I'm trying to do dinner, like I've got 10 minutes where I've managed to get Cecily into her Moses basket. I'm trying to do dinner, and Isabel was hanging off of me as well. So the touched outness and the overwhelm is huge at the moment. I'm also needing to do a lot more chores than I did last time, because I have to keep everything going for Isabel. So it doesn't matter if I'm walking around with like a milk stained top on, which I currently am at the moment, or I haven't washed my hair, which I have because I managed to do it today. But I can't just leave Isabel with like milk stained clothes and unbathed or whatever. So keeping on top of the washing is huge, making sure that she's got her her clothes, she's all clean, everything's ready for nursery school, that she's got activities to do when I'm feeding Cecily. And the fact that the house is a building site as well means that everything just gets dirty so quickly. So I am having to like hoover or dust every day. The bathroom constantly needs cleaning. There's so much washing to do. I need to keep on top of the kitchen, keep that cleaned. And yeah, the overwhelm and like the feeling of having absolutely no control over what's going on is mental. Like Christmas is coming up as well, so I'm trying to make that magical for Isabel. Cecily obviously isn't going to remember her first Christmas, but we did quite a bit for Isabel, so I want to do the same for her. And I just feel like I'm drowning in everything that needs to be done. John is like obviously back at work. He's still trying to sort the house out because there's always bits that have got to be done. And I thought that I'd have a bit of time to do some work. And I literally don't. I sit down and film a video while I've got like this moment, and then it takes me like 2 weeks to get it edited. And I thought that I'd be able to focus on my Etsy shop a bit more, and I haven't been able to. Obviously that's like my income, my Etsy shop, my YouTube and everything, so not being able to do anything with it at the busiest time of the year means that I've missed out on some income. But what can you do, really? Oh, hello. The little snuffly noises. He's so cute. We've had a few illnesses here over the last couple of weeks, like nothing too bad, just the usual coughs and colds that you get at this time of year, but coughing and sneezing with a C-section incision is not it. I found that if I put my hand over it when I cough or sneeze, it's not so bad. They say like to use a pillow or whatever, but unless I'm up here I don't normally have access to a pillow, so that's not a thing. But I've also found as well that the body kind of refuses to sneeze, because the first time I did it, it was painful. I felt like everything was going to either fall out or just tear open. But again, that's made everything harder. I'm obviously like more tired. Isabel's not feeling great. John's got it as well. She's had a cold too. Okay, back to like physical recovery. I have no core muscles, or I had no core muscles whatsoever. I found getting in and out of bed and turning over in bed like the worst part of recovery. Like for the first couple of weeks I was literally just like falling into bed and going to sleep wherever I ended up, until it was time to get up to feed her, because I just didn't have the energy to turn over or the muscle to turn over, and it just really hurt. And I think that's like the worst bit about the C-section recovery, is that you need to sleep to recover, and you need to be able to get your baby in and out to feed them, but you can't because it just hurts. It really hurts. But that has improved now. I can get in and out of bed, and I can turn over, and almost like sat up the other day as well, which is not something I've been able to do for a while. I'm really looking forward to being able to start some like C-section scar massage and some light workouts as well, because I need to strengthen everything back up. It's ridiculous. I feel so weak and like pretty useless, to be honest. I am boiling all the time. I mean, I am literally sweating. I know obviously this doesn't help, but even when she's not attached to me, I am hot. It's December, I don't know what the temperature is outside, but I've got our heating set to 18 degrees. If it gets turned up any hotter than that, I'm literally dying. It's ridiculous. And the postpartum sweats and night sweats, like they are really bad. And I actually had one that was so bad, I think it was like day 8 or something. It was so bad that I ended up with like a prickly heat rash. I already had an allergic reaction to the dressing around my C-section, and then I had like cycling shorts on, and I had a prickly heat rash like where the cycling shorts were. So that was awful. I don't think I've suffered with that before. So having the C-section incision trying to heal, the blistered skin around it, and then the prickly heat, that was just awful. Trying to get through those first 2 or 3 weeks, I was like, but that's all gone now, and I'm feeling like pretty good. You know, I don't have any prickly heat. All the allergic reaction's gone, and the scar is healing. So, but God, that was rough. I also suffer with something called dyshydrotic eczema, which seems to be worse when you get hot and sweaty. and I had it really badly with Isabel, like so bad that my whole hand was like blistered and everything. I've got steroid cream that I was given for that, which I'm using now, but again, that's flared up. But that seems to be something that happens postpartum to me when I'm sweating, and again, it just adds to the uncomfortableness and the irritation. My bump has gone down quite a bit. I'm not going to show you because I don't feel comfortable with it. I'm holding on to a lot of extra weight. I don't know if that's just pregnancy weight or if it is all the double cream that I ate during my gestational diabetes pregnancy, because that was pretty much the only nice thing I could have. But I am a lot heavier than I'd want to be, and obviously, well, not obviously because I didn't realise it was like that, but when you have a C-section and it's sewed back in, you tend to have like a bit of belly that kind of hangs over it, and that needs to go because I do not feel comfortable with it. I don't have many clothes anyway from previously because they didn't survive the fire or the aftermath of the fire, but I don't really have anything that fits me, so I'm still wearing maternity leggings. This is actually a pyjama top because it's just going to get covered in sick, and I don't want to spend too much money on buying new clothes because I'm not staying this size. Obviously, the bump's still going down. Are you okay? What are you dreaming about? So yeah, I've ordered a couple of bits off of Vinted, which will hopefully get me through the next couple of weeks, and then I can get some slightly smaller stuff. And I am now being more sensible about what I eat. I'm not going to diet because I am breastfeeding, but I am, as I said, looking forward to doing a bit of exercise, getting out walking a bit more, eating more sensibly. For the first couple of weeks, I literally ate everything that I couldn't have. Okay. Okay. I ate everything that I couldn't have when I was pregnant because of the sickness and the diabetes. So I've had takeaway curry, Chinese, I've had pizza, I've had chocolate, I've had sweets, I've had wine, I've had cake. So I've sort of got all of that out of my system and I feel a lot better. Obviously Christmas is coming up now. I'm probably going to eat a bit more, but then I need to really focus on getting rid of this extra weight because I don't feel good, I don't feel strong, I don't feel healthy, I don't have anything that fits me, I'm a completely different shape. I'm at risk of type 2 diabetes because of the gestational diabetes, so I really need to sort that out, and this is just me trying to be a bit holding myself accountable because it's got to be done. I think that's everything that I wanted to talk about. I'm sure there'll be stuff that I've forgotten because brain is fried, but my recovery has been better than I thought it was going to be. Obviously there's been stuff in there that I wasn't expecting, but I did think that I was just going to be like completely useless for the first 5-6 weeks, but I'm actually okay. I can get up and move about and do stuff, and I have been able to do that for a while. So there we go guys, thank you very much for watching and see you next time. Bye.